guys, we've got another fantastic treat. A good buddy of mine, he's been here to my house, has a fantastic coaching organization himself. His name is Greg Pestinger, and he comes from his company's P3 or Peak Performance Coaching. He's one of the top growth business leaders in our country. Greg is the owner, lead vision officer, and founder of P3 Coaching. Greg is a performance coach, master trainer, mentor, author, speaker. In fact, you'll want to pick up a copy of his new book. It's fantastic. We'll talk about it here. We'll make sure you get that link to that, The Road to Purpose. It really will help you. I've been doing this for 30 years, guys, and I gained insights that were just really profound for my own life. He helps companies and organizations and corporations build fantastic roads to their own purpose. So not only can they be more profitable, but be more purposeful. Today, he's going to talk to us about, this idea. So you want to start a business. What, are you crazy? Is the idea. Because, starting a business, it's not, it's not easy. That's purposeful. It's fulfilling. It'll help you be successful. But guys, it's something that you have to keep in mind. In this talk, Greg, his good brothers and partners, Jake and John, will take us through the psychology and the practical steps to get your business off the ground. And starting a business is never easy, but done correctly, it will be the most rewarding and purpose-driven way for you to impact the world in a positive way. And he tells us that we're going to learn psychology of business, ownership, the IQ and the EQ, how they can come together, a simple business startup process to make sure that you have a viable idea, and an applied application of that process in real life, done correctly with a great intention, a fantastic vision. Greg can really help you take that to the next level. Brother Greg, are you and your crew on here, sir?
We're ready to go, Keith. Can you hear us?
Awesome.
Okay.
I see you guys, man. Awesome. So good to see you.
Great to see you, and great to see all of you guys as well. It's truly an honor to be in the presence of so much talent, and especially people who will commit an entire Saturday, multiple times a year, for self-improvement. Continuous learning is the key, the master skill of success. And we're here to share a little bit of that with you as well. I love the breathing thing. I start my mornings every single day with a breathing exercise. And it's an amazing the way the day ends up when you don't, and the way the day ends up when you do. And let me just say, breathing is a big part of that for us as well. I'm going to share a slideshow here, so if you bear with me, we're going to stick this up, make sure everything's working correctly, and go from there. I'm trying to do this with my right hand. So do you guys see? Go ahead.
We see you.
You see it? All right. You just see slides. Should be coming up now. Just slides now. What are you seeing there, Keith?
I'm seeing just a thin column of slides.
A thin column of slides. I'll go up just. How about now?
The same thin column of slides.
Interesting. I've tried to. Right there.
Oh yeah, the Zoom share.
Can you drive it?
Okay,
how about now?
Same thing. Oh nope, that just changed.
Just one big slide.
Yeah, now we see your family portrait.
Okay. I'm not that old. Come on. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. Sorry for that little technology glitch there. Before we do get started, just want to talk just a little bit about why we're here and why we're talking about this. The three of us formed a partnership that we have just about a year ago, where we went through the very process that we're talking about. It's a similar process that we actually use on the business coaching side of our business with clients. And we're going to actually go through, talk a little bit about the psychology. We talked Maximus talked a little bit about emotional intelligence, and believe me, when you bring three guys together with very distinct personalities to create a new company, emotional intelligence is very important. So we'll talk a little bit about that up front. We'll take you through a process that we use with clients to help them start new businesses, or in larger businesses, new departments, new product lines, new things like that. So we'll share that process out with you. And at the end, if you'd like, shoot us over your email and we'll send you the template that we're going to go through. And then finally, Jonathan's going to bring it together in this new company that we are really officially launching, publicly launching, I should say, next month. So you're going to see firsthand an actual product that's come out of this process that we use. All right, so we at P3, really, this is who we really are. We aspire to inspire greatness. We transform the lives of people so that they can have more, give more, and be more. So this is really the reason that we exist, and we do it through business coaching and young professional, young adult coaching. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jake Benson, let him talk a little bit about himself, and then he's going to take us through the emotional intelligence part of business startups.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. Hello, everyone. Like Greg said, my name is Jake. I'm the manager of marketing here at P3 Peak Performance. I just graduated last year with a degree in marketing and entrepreneurship, and I'm currently getting my master's in performance psychology right now, which is super, super exciting. And I'm excited to be here with you all today. So for about the next 10 minutes, I'm going to be talking to you guys about emotional intelligence. I'm sure everyone here has heard about emotional intelligence, has been on a training about emotional intelligence, or read about it. But really what my goal for the next 10 minutes is to make you think. Whether you're wanting to start a business or not, what I'm about to talk about can apply to you if you take a few minutes to dive deeply with me. So we're going to talk about emotional intelligence, 4 key questions or ideas that you can use and you need to hone in on if you're wanting to prepare and start a business. So let's start off with defining emotional intelligence really quickly. So it can be seen as one's ability to identify, understand, and control their emotions, as well as identify, understand, and help others control their emotions as well. So why is emotional intelligence so important, especially in terms of starting a business? Well, first and foremost, there was just an empirical study done last year that kind of led to find the key identifiers of whether or not a successful entrepreneur was going to end up being successful, or what made the most successful entrepreneurs successful. And of course, IQ played a role in it, their basic intelligence level. But the number one indicator of an entrepreneur's success based off their own personal well-being is their emotional intelligence, their ability to understand themselves, the ability to understand others, and the ability to communicate with each other efficiently, even when emotions are high. Because if you're starting a business, there are going to be a wide array of emotions, super high emotions that are super exciting and thrill-seeking, but also some that are very low, where you're very stressed out and you're really having to navigate some tough waters. One quote that I love about starting a business is that the struggle is guaranteed, but the success is not. And one thing that comes along with the struggle is emotions. And our emotions impact our thoughts, and our thoughts impact our actions. In order for us to be successful entrepreneurs or to start a business successfully, we have to prepare ourselves. We have to understand our emotions, our emotional tendencies, how we interact with others, so we can manage ourselves, manage our team, and manage all of the moving parts that come along with starting a business. So there's the intro. We're going to dive into the first key point, which is you have to understand and know your blind spots. So what are blind spots? Well, there are times where we're stressed out and we act a certain way. We all have patterns, right? When we're stressed out, someone might they might turn to the pantry and grab some chocolate. Other people might become a little more short with people at home, right? We all have these different patterns when we're stressed out, but they play up in a large scale when we're working on starting a business. And now it's super, super important that we start to understand our patterns, these blind spots that we don't necessarily see. Whether like when we're stressed out, we may make decisions too quickly, or we may just throw a plan away. Well, these patterns accumulate over time. And when you're starting a business, the first thing you need to do is kind of take and reflect and get some feedback on what your blind spots may be. And these don't have to come up with a business setting. You can ask your family. Hey, you can ask your spouse, hey, when I'm stressed out, what do I tend to do? Or when I'm really, really excited, do I have any tendencies that I tend to follow? Because we have these patterns that can either be super benefiting to us or super sabotaging as well. And it's important that we learn to identify these blind spots that we may not be aware of. And the first way to do that and the best way to do that is to seek feedback from the people who are close to you, your family, your friends, the people who see you in stressful situations, who see you when you're full of excitement. They're able to let you know, yeah, John, like when you're super stressed out, like you kind of just throw the plan away. Or Greg, like when you're super, super excited, you tend to make decisions without thinking them through logically. All these blind spots that really affect us in starting a business.
Personal thought.
No, these are just off the cuff, I promise. They don't mean anything to you guys. But these are super important because what could this mean for us? If we are stressed, when we're stressed out and we tend to throw away our plan and we don't recognize that blind spot or recognize that pattern, that can have detrimental effects for us starting a business. And now, of course, this can be related to, your family life, your relationships with your friends, or whatever it may be. The first step to prepare yourself to start a business with emotional intelligence is to know your blind spots. And you can find out your blind spots by getting feedback from those around you. Next is you have to know how you interact under pressure. Now, no matter what business you're starting, you're going to be forced to communicate with others. So how do you communicate with others when you're under this pressure? Are you short with them? Or do you explain too much? Do you not get your point across clearly? Are you just non-confrontational and just whatever they say is the way that you go? We have to understand how we interact with people under pressure. Because there's going to be times, whether it's super high emotions when we're excited or super low emotions when we're feeling the pressure and stress, that we're going to be interacting with people. Whether it's our teammates, and we know we have this big deadline coming up and we're falling behind, we have to understand how our emotions are impacting us, how that stress is impacting the way that we show up to our coworkers or show up to the people that we're trying to sign that first deal with. It's super important to understand that. And I'm going to talk about how we can do that after I talk about the next point, because they kind of go hand in hand on ways that we can conquer them together. So the third key point with emotional intelligence to start a business is know how you think under pressure. Now, before I start this point, I want to remind you about the first thing I said is what I'm talking about right now is to make you think. My goal is to make you think a little bit like, wow, when I'm stressed out, what do I typically do? Or when I'm super excited, what do I typically do? My goal is to make you think. So third point, how do you think under pressure? All right, so our emotions affect our thoughts and our thoughts affect our actions. So I know personally, when I'm under a lot of stress and pressure, I become non-confrontational. I want to say yes to everything because I just want things to move forward. But that's not always the best thing to do when you're under pressure. You have to be able to recognize that, step back and like, this is the agenda. This is what we need to get done. I may have to have some hard conversations with people, and that may stress me out even more, but it's necessary in order to make sure that we execute on our business plan. So knowing how you think under pressure is super, super important. Even when they're going well, knowing that like you think like super positively, like you want to go get things done when you're in a good state of mind. That's super great to harness. But maybe when you start thinking a little more stressed out, or when you become more stressed out, your thinking tends to slow down. It's important to hone yourself back in and begin to think more positively so you can have all the energy to take the action that you need. So you have to know how you interact under pressure with people, and you have to know how you think under pressure. Now, what is the best way to figure out how you do both of those things? It's simply to reflect and a review process of yourself. We have all had times when we're super stressed. We've all had times when we're super excited or super angry, when our emotions are on an 8 out of 10, whatever those emotions are. Whenever you, at the end of the day, if you encompass a emotion that's very, very high on the scale, review yourself, sit down and write a second. I was super stressed out today, and then write down the steps that happened after that. How did you show up to people? Did you interact in a good way? Or did you come across super short? Were you angry? Did you blow up? Did you ruin the rest of the day for your team? Or did you become so excited that you forgot to plan, that you missed one of your meetings? Sit back and review after times of super high emotions. So you're able to understand your patterns. Because at the end of the day, we all interact and react in a similar way to the high levels of emotions that come upon us. And now I want to reframe this. So of course, this is important to start in a business, but you should be doing this work as you're starting a business, but maybe even before. Because there's times when we're stressed and we're full of anger or whatever it may be, or excitement before we even go about starting a business. And reviewing those patterns before we dive in to actually starting a business will allow for us to have plans in place for when those emotions do arrive. So last but not least, which is so vitally important is you have to know when to take a step back. You have to know when your emotions are too much, when you're reaching your breaking points. So you can take a step back, reassess, take an hour, take a few hours, take a few days, whatever it may be, to reset yourself to get going again. So I like to think of this as like a car. You have to understand when your engine lights or your maintenance lights come on, right? You have to know your warning signs, whether that's you're missing a few meetings, or you see yourself that you're working a lot but you're not getting a lot done. We have these little engine lights and check engine signs and these maintenance lights pop up all around us for ourselves, and they're different for each individual. Now, of course, ideally, when we have those lights come on, when you have an engine light come on in your car, you want to go get it checked out right away. So that's a minor inconvenience. So you just take that hour of taking to the shop and maybe a quick tune-up. Or if you don't recognize those lights and you go too long, then your engine could explode, right? You could explode. You could ruin a relationship with the people around you. You can ruin a relationship with teammates, your team members, or you can ruin a relationship with the people that you're trying to get business from. So instead of letting all the lights flicker for days and days and days and then exploding and it take weeks to come back from, be sure to check your engine lights or check your lights as they pop up, so you know your warning signs and when you need to take a step back, when you need to relax, when you need to do some breathing exercises, or maybe take a day off or go for a walk, whatever it may be. So to recap, emotional intelligence is starting a business. Really, the first thing that you need to do is you need to know your blind spots. Then you need to know how you interact with others. You need to know how you think under pressure. You can do this by getting feedback from others and reviewing how you interact with people on a day-to-day basis after times of high emotion. And last but not least is you have to know when you need to take a step back, because like I said, the only thing guaranteed with starting a business is the struggle, not the success. And when struggle comes, so does stress, so does anxiety, so does a lot of negative emotions that can weigh heavy on us. And we need to make sure that we take the time to take care of ourselves. Thank you guys for that. I'm gonna toss it to Greg to dive more into what it actually means in our process of starting a business.
Thank you, Jake. And we have a saying around here: red glass, red glass, red glass, red light, red light, red light. So what we did to help each other understand what our emotional state was, we got these little digital LED lights that we can change the color of. They sit on our desk, and when it's red, stay the hell out of my office, or when it's green, and vice versa. So we use little symbols. We're going to talk now really quick about a process, and again, I'll share this out with you all afterwards if you feel like it's valuable. But from a good friend of mine, Brian Tracy, he says this: lack of clarity is more responsible for frustration and underachievement than any other single factor. Nothing could be more true than when you're starting a company, or when you have a company and you're launching a new product or a new brand of some kind. Nothing could be more clear than a lack of clarity. So what hopefully this will do will give you at least a good feeling of should I pull the trigger or shouldn't I pull the trigger by adding some clarity. Real quick, I love this. The law of self-control basically says this, and every invention ever in the history of time went through this process. First, someone thought it up. Someone had an idea. Someone said, I need a computer and a phone in the same thing. It wasn't someone, it was a pretty amazing man. Then they believed, or they had a feeling that this was something that could provide value to the world, that they could actually do it. They believed. So second step, then they took action. They brought their dream to life. And from that, they found victory or achievement. So no different starting creating a product or starting a new company. If you got an idea, get into it. Figure out, well, is this idea feasible? Do people need it? Do you believe you can do it? Do you believe you're bringing value to the world by doing it? Take the action, be disciplined, intentional, and then you will find victory. And we're going to give you a little trick here to do that. Before we do, I just want to say one thing. This is the life cycle of most businesses, products, your personal life. When you're starting a company, you're on a big high. And then guess what? The bottom falls out. And we call this area 3 feet from goal. And the reason we call this is the don't quit spot. No matter what, don't quit. It's going to feel like you should, but you got to power through. And by powering through, you're going to find that you're going to come back up this curve again and move on towards success and growth for a long period of time before you have to then reinvent yourself. So 3 feet from goal, an important piece to make sure you get through the dip of that. It's really about a plan. And this is our simple 7-step process. So first is all about discovery. Second is about creating a concept. We'll go through these in detail in a second. Then developing that concept, real simple. Making a commitment. This is where the rubber hits the road. Then launching it, and you can launch it full on, or you can launch it in a market, or you can launch it in some way to test it. Basically, we like to go full out here, and then evaluate what worked, what didn't work, make the changes, and then start the whole process all over again. So step 1, discovery. These are the questions you should be asking yourself. What is your overall vision for this company? If you don't have a vision for a company, don't start. Don't start it. You got to know what you want. You got to know what you want out into the future, what that looks like, what that feels like, who it's going to benefit. Who are your clients going to be? Do they have a need for what you're trying to bring to the table? So many companies start out of someone's dream that has absolutely no application, or there is no need for it. They fail. What opportunities do you need your company to provide for you? What is the reward for you? There's a lot of work, a lot of hours, a lot of stress, a lot of things you're going to go through. What's in it for you? What is your unique value proposition? Why are you different than anybody else? Why is your coaching company different than the thousands, tens of thousands of coaching companies across the country? And that's an important one. Why are you unique and different? By the way, I believe we are all unique and different. We just need to bring that to life. What are your overarching goals for the company? And what could get in the way? Always be thinking in advance what could possibly be a roadblock for you so that you can, in turn, prepare for those during the process. Step 2, this idea of what's the idea. So this is where important things are, like your values. What are the filters you're gonna regulate your business with? Again, what's your vision? What's the mission? How are you going to bring that to life? And purpose? Why are you doing it? What is your reason for doing it? What value does it bring the world? Expected financial impact. And you'll see a number of things here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but what can you expect to put in the bank and when? Let's just face it. If you're not making money, you don't have a business. You have a hobby. Money is extremely important to ensure not only that the business succeeds, but that you deliver the services that you are bringing to the world. Without money, that's going to suffer, and eventually you'll run out and not be able to continue. Provide a brief description of that concept. Write it down. I can't say this more times than not. Write down the concept in a few sentences, just the idea. Then develop it. What is your strategic outline? How are you going to package this thing up and communicate it to other people? What is creative going to look like? What research do you need? What knowledge do you need to know that you currently don't know? And we have this beautiful machine that has a whole lot of it right at your fingertips, not to mention a lot of sources from state and local government. How are you going to market this product? How are you going to bring it to life through sales? Point number 2, no sales, no company. What resources do you need? What kind of money do you have to set aside? Are you going to fund it yourself? Are you going to go out and find investors? All of these things are important. And by the way, the plan that comes out of this process gives you a tool to go seek those funds. What skills do you have or don't have that you need to get? What people are you going to need to bring to the table? And then a final estimate of all your numbers happen at this point. What kind of clients, what's the revenue going to be generated? How much of that's going to be converted to profit? Again, to get a good feel for that. Then a committed marketing plan. You got to let people know you exist, plain and simple. And this is when you're starting to look at what's your product, what's it deliver, how are you going to communicate it, who are you going to communicate it to, what are the competitors in this space, how are you different, what are you going to price this thing at? And remember, you can always go down. It's really, really hard to go up. So believe in what you've got and price it accordingly. And then what budget will you need in order to launch it, and how long will that money last? And then the detailed tactics of what you're going to need to do. Step 5 is the sales plan. What are your sales goals? What are your projections? What channels are you going to operate in? Who are your clients going to be? What competitors play in those same places, and what do they do? Again, what's their price? and then a detailed prospect plan. How are you going to go get those clients? Finally, put it all down on paper. You know, nothing happens without a timeline, and in that timeline is the need to evaluate and constantly be adjusting. Fail fast. You've heard it before. Fail fast, adjust, and get back in the game. Fail fast, adjust, and get back in the game. We talked about it. Coach Kirby said you only really fail when you quit. Well, if you consider the stumbles as feedback, and you take that new knowledge, reinvest it back into your plan for your business startup or what have you, then it's going to be more informed and much better and valuable information to have. There is no better better knowledge than what you get through failure. So with that, I'm going to now turn it over to John, and we're going to talk about a brand new company that we're excited about that we're calling Kaikion. And John went through this process, and he's going to tell you how three guys with big personalities, by the way, came to some semblance of an agreement to launch this company and what it does and what we're really excited about. So John, I'll send that over to you.
Yeah, so after all this process, which I think we got to sort of learn by trial and error, the first part, sort of what Jake talked about, that emotional intelligence, a lot of those were strikingly similar, Jake. So I appreciate the obstacles. No, I would say our journey to this brand has been sort of like like a Dora the Explorer episode. Maybe like 1,000 of those episodes, every conversation, every meeting, the whole year, just one big like navigating some weird mountain of either emotional stuff or projections. I have PTSD when I look at a funnel of sales. I can't.
I have to ask permission to talk about numbers.
I don't
money.
I hate
John's in the room.
I don't like looking at the numbers. No, it's been a cool journey, but I decided to kind of start off with like where we arrived. So we arrived this really cool company, name and brand and logo and just full concept, right? From doing what seems like a pretty simple process. It's 7 steps, looks a lot like a 5S process. It looks a lot like any sort of idea development I've ever seen. And it's just, we finally sort of arrived this really cool brand geared towards helping younger people and diving into that life coaching space with a unique value and a cool spin on it. So I will talk about sort of what Kaikion, I think somebody went in the waiting room.
Keith, you see that? Someone's trying to get in the waiting room there. Okay.
I see it.
All right. Thank you.
So a while back, 4 or 5 years ago, I picked up this weird book off of Twitter or some show I was watching called Stealing Fire by Stephen Kotler. I recommend the book. It's kind of cool about flow states. And it sat with me for a long time. It sort of unlocked this weird ideology of like breaking past barriers and unlocking this part of human experience, which I cherish so deeply all the time, more days than not. It actually wasn't until we started working with our marketing agency that this terminology and stuff started coming up again about this whole sort of like Greek culture of Prometheus. And so if you don't know the story of Prometheus, he stole fire from the gods and gave it to the people. There's a lot of metaphor there. And just this idea of, famous for stealing the fire of Zeus and bringing it down to man. And the way that this sort of embodies itself in ritual over time and all the way to today is this idea of where can we access this thing, this beautiful human experience, these wonderful virtues, these guiding principles, these absolute answers. And the Greeks, as many gods, representing almost any idea you could imagine. And every one of them sort of represent this fire or this thing that you could get from Zeus. They're all Zeus's children too. So it's sort of cool. In Kaikion, the direct translation is this sort of hallucinogenic wine. It's a cool sort of edgy brand in itself. But it's this hallucinogenic wine people used to drink to face their fears, face death, reach new heights, People like Pythagoras, Plato dedicated their success, theory of forms, geometric proofs to their experience. This idea of sort of taking the eternal and making it present. And so this ties in really cool to a lot of the stuff we came up with. But when it comes to sort of like the obstacle, we all had separate visions and personalities that we want to create. We all are here to help people, but what does that look like? I kind of took like a vague sort of my remembrance of this process, although it was very traumatic and a lot of was Greg was after something manly, something about overcoming challenge, something kind of cool and badass. I was after something cool, unique, historical, and edgy. So that's where the nerdiness that I just shared with you comes through. And Jake centered us with like, this needs to communicate who we are and what we do for people. And sort of like took us out of idealing, right? And with the vision, Greg says this all the time, people are struggling to find meaning, checking off boxes, and they just need a little bit of help getting where they want to go, finding purpose. I'm sort of edgy. There is no meaning to be found, but just virtues and plans to be followed. And Jake, again, recenters us. This needs to help as many people as possible.
There's a reason he's in the middle.
And be accessible to many people. And so what we came to is this sort of idea of Kaikion and this branding, the name, and this whole work. And so, what I thought was interesting, and I'll sort of dive into the philosophy for time purposes. If any of you guys are familiar with Pulp Fiction, it's a great movie. But there's a specific scene where he sort of cites the Ezekiel 25:17 in his own way, and I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan. But if you're not familiar with the quote from the movie, I love it. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who, in the name of charity and goodwill, shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee. How we connected this in a way is a respect for virtues are so. And that's what this entire company is based around. Greg talks about clarity up front. Clarity is the first module, the first focus of the program. And so a disrespect of virtue, whether you are a believer of a creator or a mere observer of nature, can lead to your demise. If you can imagine how a man dies in the desert, it would not be at the fault of the sand and the sun or God, but of ill preparedness and the severe lack of hydration. Hydration is a virtue in that case. Similarly, a drowned man cannot lay blame to water. It's not the water's fault, but maybe an overexertion or inability to swim. Just like you learn to prepare to swim or conquer land and water, we can shift our focus, to virtues that protect us and allow us to succeed at whatever we're trying to conquer or do. We coach so that you don't have to wait for God, nature, or Samuel L. Jackson to kick down your door and teach you the lesson himself. And that's how we've always seen this idea of what does it mean to sort of know what to do or know how to be in these situations. And it's this idea of virtue focus, habit execution, weekly perspective. To sum up sort of like how we approach this, and this sort of like wonderful brand of what can we focus on? How can we sort of ourselves be the modern Prometheans, delivering fire to the people we help, especially to younger people who are trying to develop their principles, their values, their mission in the world. This idea of I want to work somewhere purposeful. I want to have a purpose. You can find it through virtues, and so that was sort of how this process came to a fruitful conclusion of something that communicates like an edginess, a manliness, and communicates what we are for people. We try our hardest every day to be, the elixir, the kaikion that you can drink and put in your life and be able to conquer the things you want to do and move up heights that you didn't think were possible. And all that comes down to this cool sort of like obstacles of emotional intelligence and planning. And what's what's cool is I think and inspiring that I want to make a point of is, you know, me and Greg, I think especially, I would say myself, I can speak for myself. I get bored and I want to throw things out very quickly, whether it's a hobby, whether it was a girlfriend in the past, apology to the world. It's like stuff like that. I throw it. It's like we get bored, throw it out if it's not working, and that process is grueling. Like this took us like a year and a half really to get to this fruitful, sort of cool, you know, comprehensive business idea and structure. And the whole time I kind of want to quit, but it's nice to know that there's, you know, if you stick with it, there is this, at least a cool logo at the end waiting for you, and some exciting stories and learning. So I don't know, that's sort of
awesome. So thank you, and it's we're really looking forward to this. There is a massive need in the young adult and young professional space, especially young men, to find this fire inside each of them. So I'll finish this up here real quick, if I get it the right way. So want to start a business, accept reality. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. 60, 80, 90 hours a week, whatever it takes. We have a motto here. I won't repeat it. Focus on what you can control, of course, create a positive mindset. I would say that is number one on top of all the lists of all the things you will ever do with your human life. Over communicate with each other, take care of yourself first. Usually when I'm firing off on these guys, it's because I'm not taking care of myself. Have a vision for the future and a plan to make it happen. And be here for each other. This is a tribe. I know Keith has been pulling it together. Be here for each other, and we're going to be here for you guys, all we can be. Okay. Some things that we will send you if you'd like. If you like, the startup assessment is a document. I'm happy to send you. Just go out on our website and ask for it. We'll send it. Also, emotional intelligence assessments are out there. This is how you can reach us. So with that, I'd just like to say, thank you. If there's any way that we can help you with your businesses or with your extending your products, this is a tribe of people that help people. And we want to help you do that the best that we can as well. So count on us to be there for you as well. And Keith, we'll take questions or what have you. If anybody has questions, thank you very much. And we love being here.
Thank you. Let's hear it for Greg, Jake, and John. Thank you guys so very much. I mean, wow, world class guys. When you get this material presented to you, sometimes you're just here and you're like, oh, okay. And it can seem like drinking from a fire hose, but take it from someone who coaches, businesses all around the world. The stuff they just offered you is world class. That alone is worth millions, and people pay big bucks to get that information too. And such a gift for you guys to show up to help us with that.
Yeah.
So I'm so very
family.
That's right. We are family, brother. I love you, and really great stuff. You're young men there. Well done. Very well done. Great
Thank
stuff.
you.
And what a cool name. I love that. You and I have talked about it before, but man, that's a great concept. Your new company.
Well, the funny thing, it's helping. It's providing fire really for young men, young people, and it's all that fire is inside of us, and all of us on this call, every single one of us. If we can ignite that fire in one young person, that young person is going to ignite that fire in hundreds of people.
That's
so
right.
Please do what you can, mentor, use your skills, your talents, your God-given purpose to help people grow and expand. That's why we're here.
Well said. And you do that so well. Guys, any questions? One of the things I'll ask while you guys are typing your questions out is, when it comes to really no matter what age you are, but when it comes to the life cycles of a business, that's one of the things that I have seen, even in my own businesses. It's so important to recognize yourself in that life cycle, that lifespan, and to be able to innovate and understand where you are. Because I've seen so many businesses at their peak begin to just crash and die because they're not taking care of themselves, and they're not recognizing the death cycle, as I call it. How is it that you guys, in your own stuff, how are you guys handling that?
I don't know if you noticed. So in this company now, so Jake and John come out of school. They're experts in with young adults. They've been working with young adults in mentoring roles and professional ones throughout most of their young adult life. So they work primarily with young people, speak to them with their language. They understand the pitfalls, they understand the excuses, they understand all of that stuff. So they work on that side. From my perspective, I come from 30 years of corporate life with brands like Anheuser-Busch and Jack Daniels and General Electric, from a family business now in its third generation. So I kind of bring the business perspective. But I think that life cycle you talked about, Keith, really is really, really important for a business, for a young person's life, for anyone's life. We talked about the first hump, the 10 feet from gold. Don't quit before you find the gold. And that's an old prospector story that if we had more time, I'd share. But the other big caution place, I don't know if you noticed, is at the top of that growth. So many companies, and I'll just name them: Sears and Roebuck, Kodak, Blockbuster, for you guys in the film business. How many people got so cocky with being on top of the pile that they decided they didn't need to change when the world changed around them? So you notice, if you don't change, you're coming down the backside of that thing. So a time to reinvent. So most businesses are either starting or reinventing at any given point. There's a little bit of breathing room while you're in that growth stage, and that's not always easy either. But those two places in a business, especially a startup or a restart up, are really important to be aware and conscious of that, so that you don't find yourself being a victim of those pitfalls.
Well said, brother. Really well said. Thank you so much. And great value, man. It's good to see you and you guys doing so well. I like it. And I like a little bit of the scruff. Are you going to let that grow?
Oh, with me? Yeah, I don't know. It's gray. Where did that come from? You know what I think it was? It was that 20 below backyard of yours. No, I'm kidding. That
You're right.
amazing.
You're right.
That
Awesome.
experience launched a whole nother 5 years. So that's really a really great thing. Thank you so much for that.
Beautiful. And guys, these young men, they're a part of our future in the business. Greg is a part of our future, even with Undisputed Mastery. And it's just so excited to have you guys here. Thank you so much. Wonderful. John and Jake, thank you guys for showing up, man. You guys always bring the gold, and I appreciate that. I really replace that. That's just fantastic, guys. So keeping that in mind, guys, now we're going to move on.